Hello, and welcome back to Mind Over Markets, a podcast series where we dissect the psychology behind major market events. I'm your host, Yuvan Gupta, and today we're going to be diving into a story that shook Silicon Valley to its core: the rise and the fall of Theranos. Now, contrary to what some of you guys think, the tale of Theranos is not some Greek fable. Instead, it's a masterclass in how behavioral biases can lead even smartest people astray. So let's roll up our sleeves and perform a behavioral economic dissection on this saga. Our story begins in 2003 when a 19-year-old Elizabeth Holmes dropped out of Stanford to found the company Theranos. With the name being derived from therapy and diagnosis, the company, promise you ask, they revolutionized blood testing by running hundreds of tests from tests of just a few drops of blood. It was a vision that would eventually be valued at a whopping 11-figure number before completely imploding on itself. For some background though, this new technology that Holmes had claimed to offer was a device that was called a nanotino, which was a small device designed to draw, retain, and analyze a droplet of blood from a patient's fingertip. This, paired with its proprietary Edison testing technology, could reportedly run a multitude of tests on a patient's physiology at much less of a cost than other competitive devices and brands. But how? How exactly did so many intelligent people, from investors and board members to even the inquisitive and skeptic media, fall for what turned out to be just smoke and mirrors? Often, behavioral economics concepts can explain a lot of this. First, we have something called the halo effect, defined as allowing perceptions of one quality to spill over onto biased judgments of other qualities. Elizabeth Holmes, with her Steve Jobs-esque black turtlenecks, Stanford dropout story, and articulate passion, created a very, very powerful game. This carefully crafted image made people more and more likely to believe in some of her other traits or capabilities, and in turn, Theranos' innovative technology. Due to this halo effect, even when red flags appeared, they were quickly buried and pushed to the back of people's minds. The sad part about this bias is that it is unintentional in nature, and it results in a group of people or a person giving no validity or ignoring information or data that is inconsistent with their beliefs about a person. Another extremely important bias, which is extremely pertinent to this case, is something called the authority bias. With the term being popularized by American psychologist Stanley Mitchell, it is defined as our tendency to attribute greater accuracy or validity to the opinion of an authority figure and subsequently be more influenced by that opinion. Theranos assembled a board that included former senators, former secretaries of state, Henry Kissinger and George Shultz, as well as countless other political heavyweights. With these individuals, who were undoubtedly accomplished, none really had significant expertise in medical technology. Yet, their presence led Theranos an air of credibility that few questioned. After all, if these giants of American politics believed in Theranos, who were we or the others to doubt? Next up, let's look at another concept, known as something called the information cascade. This so-called cascade occurs when people follow others' behavior, assuming that they have more or better information. It is essentially when lots of people make a similar decision in a sequence. In the case of this company, once early investors like the god of Silicon Valley, Oracle founder Larry Ellison, were on board, others completely followed suit. As media coverage grew and grew, and more famous and popular names invested, a cascade effect took hold. Potential investors and partners assumed that those who came before must have obviously done their due diligence, leading to an almost snowball effect of investment and partnerships. By 2014, Theranos had raised more than $400 million at a $9 billion valuation, and had announced a partnership with a huge drugstore corporation and chain, Walgreens, in order to offer in-store blood tests. While all these biases and heuristics did in fact contribute a lot, the most powerful force at play was by far the humble confirmation bias is the human race's tendency to search for, interpret, and recall information in a way that confirms our preconceived and pre-existing beliefs. Many wanted to believe in the Theranos story. It was a narrative of innovation, of disrupting inefficient healthcare systems, and of a young woman succeeding in the patriarchal and male-dominated worlds of tech and biotech. Once people had bought into this beautifully woven story, they tended to dismiss or downplay completely contrary evidence. When questions were raised about this technology, believers often attributed them to machinations of a threatened establishment or to sexism against a women founder. To better understand this extremely integral bias, let's take an example. Imagine a person who believes that left-handed people are more creative than right-handed people. Whenever they meet someone who is left-handed and creative, they take it as evidence supporting their belief. However, when they encounter a left-handed person who is not particularly creative or a right-handed person who is creative, they ignore or dismiss these instances. This selective attention and interpretation of evidence reinforces their existing belief, demonstrating your humble confirmation bias. Now, I would urge all of our viewers and all of you guys to reflect on your own lives, from your routine actions to your interactions with other people. Looking back, do you notice any glimpses of confirmation bias? If so, think about how you can combat it or deter it. Or even so, if it had a negative effect on your course of action and your mindset. This web of behavioral biases created a perfect storm that allowed this company to operate for countless years without proper scrutiny. But it wasn't until 2015 that the house of cards began to collapse. This was triggered by Wall Street Journal reporter John Carrier's investigative reporting and subsequent infamous book, Bad Blood, that he wrote with the help of two whistleblowers from inside of Theranos itself. As this truth came to light, we saw another behavioral economics concept in action, the sunk cost fallacy. Now, we might have looked at this before, and it is just as applicable here. It is one's tendency to continue an endeavor or activity or investment once we've invested countless resources like time, effort, or money into it, even when it's no longer rational to do so. Even as evidence mounted against Theranos, a majority of investors and partners were completely reluctant to admit that they had been duped and, to put it in a way, realize their losses. Walgreens, the massive drugstore and corporation that we had mentioned before, had invested around $140 million in the partnership. And they continued to offer Theranos tests in their store for months after the initial leaks. It wasn't until June of 2016 that they effectively broke up with them, and by September 2018, Theranos had completely dissolved. In January of 2023, Elizabeth Holmes was sentenced to over 11 years in prison for defrauding investors. So what lessons can we draw from this behavioral economics autopsy of Theranos? First, it's a stark reminder of how powerful cognitive biases can be, even amongst seemingly sophisticated and intelligent investors as well as decision makers. The halo effect, authority bias, information cascades, and the confirmation bias all played crucial roles in this deception. Second, it highlights the danger of narrative investing. While stories are powerful and can point to genuine opportunities, they need to be backed up by hard data and rigorous due diligence, no matter the circumstances. Third, it underscores the importance of independent thinking and the courage to ask tough questions, even when it goes against the prevailing wisdom. As this episode ends, I hope that this was an informative yet enjoyable analysis and retelling of the facts of this extraordinary saga. This was Yuvanka with Mind Games in our third episode of Michael Amanda. Thank you.